Yes, sir. I am out here today. Testing 1, 2. We are here for live feedback stream number 58. We're about to get down, my boys. Let me just make sure my microphone's good. Yep, we're good here. We have about 14 tracks uploaded. You can still submit your track in hashtag live WIP feedback in my Discord. I will put the link to my Discord in the chat so that people can go ahead and join. Upload your track if you need to. Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. I just got a haircut. We're about to get down. Space Stream is the first. Let's go ahead and see what the cover art looks like. Looks like a nice, fun drive. Jack Lowe coming in, Space Stream. Let's run it.
Are we dreaming? Are we dreaming? Are we dreaming? Are we dreaming?
Alright, Smileys, I'm on. Just one off.
Yes. Yes. Right now.
What you say?
Don't go. Are we dreaming?
Are we? I'm not dreaming right now, but dang. I love dreams. Good job, Space Stream. Jack Lowe. We have some nice vibes in here. Overall loudness is pretty minuscule. You know, we, like, for example, timing wise, it almost feels like the drop should have dropped right here.
Yes. Yes.
It actually starts building up. So timing wise, this almost feels like an extra section rather than it flowing naturally with the song. I'd really try to reincorporate the timing here, because as we're listening to the intro and you hit us with this little pre-drop, it almost feels like the energy should be dropping here. So you might move the build up, fix the timing over here, and then when we get to the drop,
Right now.
now the sub, the main thing, since this is bass music, the sub really needs to be big, fat. Right now the sub sounds almost like default, very small. Now, this bass sounds cool. It almost sounds like the sub bass is louder because of the mid bass here. And then you can almost feel this clean sub in these sections. Now there's the sub, you can add like saturation and multiband compression. Like I use multiband dynamics. I also use saturator. And then I also use EQ8 to clean it up if I need to. Just try to make it fat. The sub will be real important. If this sub is fat and pumping, it'll get the rest of the mix feeling good. Also, there needs to be some type of dynamic shifts at some point. Like during the fills, there should be like silence fills. So every 4-bar phrase. And then right on this snare, you cut it out. And this is where your fill is. And then it has to be like a big shift dynamically. So it was like super loud, and then we go to quiet, back to loud. Overall, the song could be a little bit louder. You're like -7 left, so you have some headroom. You have some available room to get it louder, and you can layer those mid basses. So like here, it's rolling with the sub. Like boom, 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 boom. And it feels like it flows with the sub, basically. But then when we get here, it's like the sub is by itself, and then there's a sustain being played. 2 sustains, like a sine wave and like white noise being played. So really, the sub is moving quarter note, when really it should be moving sustained with those sustains. If you have it moving quarter note, there should be like another quarter note bass that should be with it. That'll make it sound full and add more energy. These sections too, like the sub is just going quarter note while these are going fast. The sub should be following the speed of those fast basses. And then these call and response. Don't just let the bass ride out. Add some flow, movement, and groove with call and response. You already know what it is. Good job. That's Jack Lowe. Jack Lowe. Space Dream. Up next, we got Vlad. Vlad Vulpes. WIP. Ganja White Night Style. Let's get it done.
My sound on the people sound. My sound on the heavyweight sound. My sound it a jungle sound. My sound make the crowd gather round. My sound on the people sound. My sound on the heavyweight sound. My sound make the afraid of no sound. And it's a killer sound.
Sound. My sound. My sound. My sound. That's Vlad coming in with the Ganja White Knight style. You know what it is. It's pretty decent, man. The vocals are doing a lot of heavy lifting here, basically. They are putting in work, and the vocals are pretty good. The vocals also are singing like a melody. Let's listen here. It's like, my sound. So it's like hitting two different notes, right? So like, it'd be nice if you could try to make a melody to kind of match those exact notes that he's hitting to be playing throughout the track. Because technically, like, if you would have written the instrumental first and made the melody, the vocalist would then be singing to the melody. So that'd make a lot of impact here. The overall energy and bounce of the track is very small, unfortunately. There's not a lot of movement going on here or bounce. It's kind of static almost. One of the main reasons is the amount of tension and energy in the build-up before the drop. So there's not really much tension built at all. There's not like a build-up or anything. So it becomes a lot harder to transition without build-up drums. It's possible, but you have to make sure that there's a lot of energy when it comes to the drop, because right now it feels like half energy. Also, there's a lot of really awesome dynamic movements going on here, but there's like background elements and atmosphere that is kind of competing and making sure that we can't really feel the differences in the dynamics. So you got to turn those down, EQ those down, make sure those are side chained. You got to make sure that atmosphere is not trying to be like the star of the show, because that's how it feels in the mix right now. Like, all the melodies and stuff are louder than the basses. It really should be the opposite. This would be really, this would be pretty heavy if it was mixed well. And when I say mixed well, just like the different levels, you got to make sure that the melodies and the atmospheres don't take the front stage and the cool basses get sent behind. Like, we don't want them to get backstage. We want them to be front stage. Overall, music theory is pretty good. Use that music theory and use building tension with your piano notes and your scales, building tension with chord progressions if you're not going to use build-up drums, so that you can transition to the drops better in both sections. Nice. Pretty good. Pretty good. This is a piece of art if you can perfect it and craft it to its maximum clarity. Good job. Glad coming in. Some spiciness. Next we have Mipsy. So Alive. Looks like Big Mipsy has been on a small hiatus, but he is back and kicking. Let's go. We got some vibe house in here. Let's do it. Let's go. Nipsey though. Oh. 2, 3, and yeah. Damn, those vocals are good.
We stay up till the sun goes down. We get lost in the midnight sky and
I feel so alive.
we stay up till the sun goes down. We get lost in the midnight sky
The sun goes down. I feel so Now we're getting funky. Oh. And that is Mipsy coming in very suave and swaggerific with So Alive. Man, lots of vibes here. Loving it, honestly. Really loving this. Lots of emotion. It takes me into a really good place. This song was almost perfect, honestly. Some big things that need improvement are the overall loudness. So like -11 in the drop for house is just too quiet. It needs to be like -8 lufs, basically. If you can get to that -8 lufs, perfect spot, it'll be really clean. Then in sections like this, the transition from everything to this, very clean. But when we get to sections like this, the synth should still hold, like center stage, should hold the spotlight. And unfortunately, the vocal shots in these sections are too loud, overpowering. They need to be more subtle and blend in the mix so that the synth can still hold the spotlight. So those vocal shots should be almost like maybe in filter movement, filtered out, EQ'd more, just anything you do to kind of blend it into the mix and add more movement, have it move around. The vocal starts to get repetitive towards here. So instead of repeating the phrase over and over, just like delete words or syllables from his phrase and chop it up that way instead of doing like this almost sounds like a trance gate, like a gate. So like literally chop the vocals and delete sections of the vocals so that he can maybe say half of his word or something. Like get up, space, chop up some more. Just space it out basically so it stops getting repetitive, and then it'd be pretty much perfect after that. Nice one. Very clean. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Toxic Toast coming in with a gifted tier 1 sub. They just made someone drippy. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you very much, man. You are big fire. Up next, we have... Oh my God, you guys are coming in hot with them. Oh, thank you very much, guys. Wow. Simply beautiful. Up next, we got Dirty Flirt by It's Oddly. This might be odd, but we don't know. Woo! Woo! Woo!
Why does that turn me on?
Hey. Dirty Flirt. You know what it is. If you're gonna flirt, you best don't flirt dirty. Alright, that's It's Oddly with, once again, Dirty Flirt. This track actually has a lot of different things that need to be improved upon it, but the main and most important thing is the overall groove, bounce, energy, and movement. So like, for example, whenever we're like listening to electronic dance music, the whole goal is to get us dancing. And the way we can get dancing is if we're going back and forth and moving between different sounds or different dynamic shifts. In this, there's not really any call and response pattern set up, so the energy levels start to decrease over time as the drop progresses. If there was more movement, call and response flow, there would be energy levels rising over time instead of decreasing. So if we highlight a 4-bar phrase like this, you'll see that we have, well, let's actually do it like this. Cool. So with the 4-bar phrase, we basically have the beginning of the sound that leads to like this, like these two chords. So this is essentially the fill section, and this is our main bass. But in reality, we need to have movement between this bass and something else. This little fill section does not do enough to add movement or enough change throughout the track. So it starts with wow, wow, wow. But in reality, we should have something happen like beforehand. Something like boom, choo, choo, and then you go back to the chord, and then you go back to whatever the boom, choo, choo, and then go back to. So you're basically now going back and forth between bass and another bass, and then at the end of the phrase, that's our loop back point. So that's why we add this fill to loop us back and add a nice transition to the next 4-bar phrase. This is the most simple call and response pattern, and this is what you should practice first so that you can get as much movement, energy, and flow throughout your track. During sections like this where the sustain comes in, be really careful. It gets really loud here. At this point, it's just really just noise. Lots of just sounds making noise. Not really any movement between anything. Once again, you need flow, and you got to make sure that sustain isn't too loud. The rides, like the hi-hats, are too loud also. It's like during this build-up, the main thing you can hear is that hi-hat and really nothing else. Same thing with the drop too. The hi-hat is louder than the actual basses. So remember, that hi-hat is just the hi-hat. The volume that it's at is actually correct. It's loud enough, but that means your basses and everything else around it is not loud enough. So you're going to layer basses and also use parallel processing to make those things louder. If you need help with any of this, just watch my YouTube videos. Those are free, and if you need like 1v1 help, I do private lessons too, and we can do like lessons together, and I can teach you everything from the ground up, man. You already know I got you. How it is. Keep it up. You are setting a good vibe. Just so you know, like these sections, like feeling real psychedelic, real nice. You're able to get the timing on your drums right, so just keep learning. You'll keep improving. That'll be a good time. Cool. Up next, we got Earth Walker with Ooh, Slow to Speak, 140 BPM, D sharp minor. Ah, yeah. Let's go. Vibes off the rip. Don't mind if I do. Yes. Damn. man, that felt good. That's Earth Walker coming in. Ooh, so clean and psychedelic. I mean, for real, this reminds me of like watching the Of the Trees Red Rocks set and just feeling like these crazy, amazing vibes. Also, we have like, it feels like we're switching between two subs almost. Like that sub feels different than this one. And us switching back and forth makes this sub feel almost so much more impactful every time it hits. And like I feel just a lot of amazing energy just flowing through my body whenever that happens. And there's many sections where that starts to happen. So basically this first 32 bars, beautiful. Once we lead into the next 32 bars, halfway through, then the main rhythm starts to get repetitive. This is really the only thing in the drop that needs to be like improved upon. You need to start just adding more variations to the main rhythm. After hearing boom, 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 like it's the same melody the whole time. So we have to switch it up at some point. Slow it down would be the best option because we're already going fast. So boom, 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 boom. You know, slow it down. There's many ways to do it, but that will make it sound a lot more professional and it will add a lot more playback value. You know, people keep coming back to the song because just so much re-listen value. It's good, man. It felt nice. Really good. Having a clean mix is a fun time. Simplicity is also key. Less is more, homies. The Surgic's up next with Whip It. Let's see if it shall be whipped. That's a nice progression. Cool bass line you had there. Nice. All right, cool. Lysergics with Whip It. Very nice. Cool energy. Lots of nice sound design in here. The actual drop, though, it like feels almost like the wrong note might be being played, or a frequency shifter is shifting to the wrong frequency, or maybe the synth is like using a filter or something on the cutoff and it's just going weird because the main tones and sounds don't feel like they blend perfectly with everything that played before it. Like there's a lot of melodic and harmonic content in this song. So it's real important that when you're in the drop, we resolve back home perfectly on the drop and keep the root note just playing the whole time. And we have to make sure that that frequency of the root note is the main frequency that's being heard. If you start shifting it into different places, we could lose that note and you could be out of tone, out of key, out of scale. And we don't want to be there. We want to be in key for perfect harmony so we can get maximum energy. There's call and response or sound design. So you can tell there's something else off. It also sounds like the basses in general aren't layered enough. Like the clap itself is louder than your basses, which is a problem. We need those mid basses to feel like super heavy, lots of layers, fill out mids, lows, highs, fill out mono and stereo. Like even the effects, like those sound louder than the basses. So be careful. Sometimes it'll sound like muffled or contained or almost in a bubble. And that means you need compression, use multiband dynamics, and then saturator right after it. Turn up the drive on the saturator. You'll get easy volume, clean volume with multiband dynamics and saturator. Make sure you use that. It's going to help a lot. Cool. Good job though, man. I can see that you have the idea in here. You just got to perfect it. Keep it up. Keep it pumping. Don't let nobody stop you. Up next, we got Snasta with a WIP. Let's check it out. Let's get done. Getting her done. Sick. Introducing damn. Damn. You got some mad flows in you, man. I gotta say. You also have some sections that are crazy. Honestly, this is mixed very poorly. It sounds very blown, very muddy. But God, underneath all this muddiness and all these blown speakers, there's some heaviness in here. Sick flows. Amazing dynamic shifts. This part right here, for example, is just crazy flow, crazy transition. Check it. You just get thrown into that. It's just dirty. Unfortunately, it's very hard to even tell what's going on underneath because it's like sounds so blown and muddy. You have to like be hyper aware of making sure all your low frequencies are in the middle. Remember, sub, kicks are in the middle. They don't belong on the sides. So if any instrument is starting to get low frequencies on the side, you have to remove those and make sure the low frequencies are for the middle. And you'll design an EQ, your stereo image, that way. And make sure you're not pumping up saturators or clippers too much. You have to find that perfect balance so it's not too blown. We need to be able to fully hear the main bass leads and all of our drums and stuff while still getting that distorted, crunchy, grungy sound. About that balance, man. Finding balance will get you to win. Balance is life. Good job, Snesta. Very, very clean. Oh yeah, the intro, by the way. The horror intro. Cinematic. Very good. Very good. So keep that stuff up. That is some dark emotions, man. Some dark emotions. Good job, Snesta. Up next, we got Cruton. Cruton with Snap EO clip. Let's go.
Feeling real cool. Yeah, from the 80s, so I'm leaning and rocking. Slapping my fingers, then reaching my block. Ripping my block. Straight from the dick. When you slap my fingers, shopping, gotta drink dick. Smoking on this, with that this. I bet you can't do it like this. Yeah, I'm back to the track, back to the steps. 1, 2 step, gotta lean back. This is how we do it in the A-time. If you ain't know how it goes down, hey, snap your fingers, do the step. You can do it all by yourself. Let me see you do it. Snap your fingers. Do your step. Back to the track, back to the snap. 1, 2 step, ain't gotta lean back. Yeah, this is how we do it in the A-time. If you ain't know, this is how it goes down. Hey, snap your fingers, do your step. You can do it all by yourself. Let me see you do it. Let me see you do it.
Ooh, snap your finger. Alright, cool. We got some rhythm function. We got some, I think Lil Jon and the Eastside Boys coming in. You know, we're snapping our fangs. Now, we kind of get thrown in to the drop. So this is probably like the drop, right? And this is kind of like the fake out.
Yeah, from the 80s, so I'm leaning and rocking. Slapping my fingers,
I'm not too sure actually what this is. I can't tell if it's a fake out or a build up, but you definitely want to do something to build some tension and energy so this drop feels like hard or heavy. Right now the energy is very low because of how we transitioned into it. So then from here we have to like do a lot to increase the energy over time. And that's just a place you don't want to be in. You know, you can easily build tension and be placed directly into the highest energy section here. Now remember, call and response is important, so if we just get thrown in straight to the main motif, it'll get repetitive very quickly. Some really important things that have to be taken care of, and you really can't be making these mistakes either, are like timing mistakes with the vocals. At minimum, the timing has to be perfect with how the vocalist is rapping on beat with our song. If they're rapping off beat, then that means there's 2 different rhythms and grooves that we can dance to, and then people will stop dancing because they lost the rhythm and groove. So you have to keep that rhythm and groove. If you lose it, that's like almost a sin. Let's go ahead and check this out. So that these are very off time, and this should be basically warped properly within Ableton. You'll want to check the original BPM of the acapella, put that in so that it can get on time perfectly with Ableton, and then you can align it on your grid. as is. And then that will be how you can fix that. Also, make sure that you tune them too. Tune the acapella. Make sure that it's perfectly in pitch with your song too. That's going to help a lot. And then overall bass layering, you can layer these rhythm basses. You can layer them to be even bigger, cleaner. Focus on layering lows, mids, highs first, and then mono, and then stereo. Then you'll have some sick things to work with. And don't forget, you can have a reverb layer too for space. I think that's about it. Yeah, good idea. You know, those vocals, once again, doing a lot of work, making a lot of grooviness. It'll keep people coming back. I think that's a good idea. Next, we have Shank by Rage. Shall we rage with a shank? I think we shall. Let's see it. Dun, 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 dun. This reminds me of the new Fortnite season. Let's go. Uh-oh. Cool. That's Shank by Rage. We have a lot of stuff going on here. Lots of stories being told. One of the main things that I like about this song is the last drop. I mean, there's a lot more energy, a lot different flows. There's a lot to dance to in these flows here. Especially the fake out. Helps with the energy. Now the sub in the first drop is kind of just going sustained the whole time, which is really messing up the flow and energy of the first drop. And this, it switches from sustained to moving, which is much more professional, and it should be done like this. When there's guns playing, the sub should be moving with the guns. When there's sustains playing, the sub should be moving with the sustain, just like how it's doing now. Yeah, so definitely make the first drop more like the second drop in terms of energy levels, dynamics. We want to be going in and out between things. With this, there's a lot of noises being played at the same time, not many breaks from the noises either, so we're losing dynamics. We need to be able to tell there's loud, quiet, and the difference is real important. Being able to feel the difference, I should say, is real important. Being able to feel those dynamics in the drop and in the whole mix is how we can capture people's emotion. Then in sections like this is very bad because it's very, very muddy. It almost sounded like I played all of the tracks at the same time in Ableton, and I thought I messed up. So I paused the song, but it was actually your song. So you have to be very careful. You can't layer two subs at the same time. You have to be very careful also to layer the frequencies right next to the sub. So remember, sub is 0 hertz to 100, but the mud frequencies are 100 to 200. And if you keep stacking those 100 to 200 hertz on multiple tracks, it's going to sound very muddy, and it'll sound like this. There's like static and lots of risers as well. So there's just a lot going on. You need to dial some things back down so that we can get a clean mix. And that's about it. Work on those. Those are the main things. Very important. You get those down so your mix is sound professional and you actually have as much energy as possible while, in the drop. Excuse me. Up next, we have Game Over by Three Amigos. Man, let's get it done.
Switch.
All right, that's the Three Amigos with Game Over. Now we have a pretty cool intro here. Now the intro is very melodic. There's literally super saw chords being in here, so we're kind of expecting the drop to have some sort of harmonic function, right? Especially with the chords leading up so close to the drop here. but then we almost have like a completely different song when we hit the drop. We completely lose the whole like motif and the intro chords and go straight into sound design basses. So basically, like if the call, for example, so this, if this was instead like a chord, the super saw like that, and then we go into, then we can kind of start to add cohesion with the song. We're like blending the intro with the drop, and then it all comes together rather than it being two separate sections. Because of that, the energy and intensity levels are very low, and it feels very abrupt transitioning into the drop, which is the last thing we want. We want that transition to be perfect, high energy levels, and you being able to add cohesion with chords in your call sections will be an easy way to do that. Also, something like this, like the speed is almost coming from the hi-hat. And then we have sections where we're almost losing drums. So the overall flow is quite wonky off the rip. We want to give them full intensity, dancing, and then towards the later phrases, we want to get wonky and start to add more silences and more like groovy rhythms. But doing this right at the beginning makes it harder for it to be full energy at this section, which is the climax. This is the drop. It has to be full energy. Then we just keep on, adding variations over time throughout the drop. Now in sections like this, you can tell it's like sounding very empty. It's like these basses are very quiet compared to the one right after it. So it's like going quiet, loud, quiet, loud. It feels very odd. It feels very empty. So you want to make sure you're layering your basses so that they all sound full, thick. You know what I'm saying? And then the last bass here. So the main bass, don't. It's almost like moving. It sounds thin, almost behind in the mix. This is one of the main basses, so we have to make sure that it's thick, loud. It can't be moving too much left and right. We have to keep a strong presence in the middle, the mono. And then you'll add an extra layer of width on top of that. Yo, thank you. Thank you very much for the follow. Thank you for the follow. Thank you. Okay. So yeah, that's about it. Overall, good idea. You just have to work on the mix, some flow things, and you'll get it pumping. That's a Trio Amigos. Up next, we got Cold-Blooded Killers with... we got Edge with Cold-Blooded Killers. The revision. Ha. The revision. That's the... yeah.
Cold-blooded killer.
Thanks. Cool. That's Cold-Blooded Killers by Edge. Overall, this is a really cool idea. We have some nice processing here. As soon as we get hit with the sub, you can really feel this. Check it. This, as soon as I heard this, I made a shit face. But, I mean, very, very quickly, this stopped sounding heavy and started sounding like empty and a little bit repetitive. So it's like we don't have any call and response structure. So there's a lack of movement and groove. We kind of get thrown straight in to the sound design. So there's nothing to dance to because it goes dun, 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 dun. So at this point, it's looping back after 4 bars and it's already sounding very repetitive. So anything after this is just going to sound basically predictable. Like we know exactly what's going to happen next. And if we can predict what's going to happen next, then we're not going to be surprised. There's not going to be any new energy coming to us. And that's an issue. So even though the sound design sub-processing is good, it's real important that you're able to bring these sounds together and put them in a composition and study songwriting and flow and movement within your phrases. You also want to study phrasing. 4-bar phrases are what you're going to pay attention to. Within the 4-bar phrase, you need a call, which is an introduction bass, a response, which is the main bass playing throughout 3/4 of it, and then a fill, which is at the end. And it's all moving according to the snare. So like when we start so that's the call basically. And as soon as that snare hits, that's when we start dancing, and that's when the new response bass has to start. If you just keep the call bass going, then we lose movement. So as soon as that snare hits, that's when a new bass or a new type of tone starts playing. It has to switch up somehow. So as soon as that snare hit and I heard it didn't switch up, then the energy levels just automatically went down because like I know what's going to happen. Anyone who listens to dubstep would be able to predict what's going to happen because it's just the quarter note flow. It's a very simple flow. So to add variation and movement with our simple quarter note flow, that's why we do the call and response to go back and forth. Mixing is good though. It sounds nice, loud, everything's cool. Last main thing here is like we have a huge dynamic shift. So we're going from loud to silent. Huge dynamic shift. Basically, these need to be happening later on in the drop. If we listen to the drop and it's like loud a lot, and then we go to silence and take a break, that's when it becomes very impactful. But since it's happening at the beginning of the drop, we don't have that impact. It's actually just sounding very empty and like we're missing.
Cold-blooded killer.
So first one sounds normal. Second one sounds like we're literally missing something in the song. So those gun cocks, they're just not enough to fill up this open space. Remember, this is the drop. Remember, we're not just making just this little section. We're making the transition from the build up to the drop. So as soon as this drop hits, if we just get hit with too much silence, that can be an issue. And also, if we're not following a call and response structure, then there's not really movement going on either. So be very careful. It sounds much better with the sustains in these sections. It sounds fuller and adds more energy, but just incorporate the call and response so that it can be maximum energy and have people dancing as hard as possible. That's about it. Otherwise, good job. Nicely done. Cold-Blooded Killers by Edge. I am going to use the restroom quick. I'll be right back. One moment. Alrighty, we are done with the small hiatus and we are on to Death's Door. This is higher than the drop. Death's Door, T-Rex for the cover art. Let's check on in it.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel you have reached this recording in error, please check the number and try your call again.
this down. Let it lick. Matter of fact, I'll hit it with a panel stick. Okay. What you know about that shit all day? Alrighty. That is Death's Door by Higher Than the Drop. Honestly, dude, that felt pretty good. I mean, I was like vibing. I'm like feeling some awesome feelings in my chest, you know. So this is good. Very, very good idea. Unfortunately, we're losing a lot of movement and flow because the sub is actually doing something completely different than what the main leads are doing. So because of this, there's kind of two different grooves to dance to in the drop. If there was more harmony with the flow, it would add a lot more energy. But listen to the sub. It's kind of doing its own thing while the basses are doing their own thing. Like, see, the bass is literally playing without a sub right here. So we're like, it sounds like we're sounding full and then going to empty. So if you match the sub maybe with the main bass, or make sure that this bass is extended during the sections that those are playing, and really try to make it sound full, it will sound more complete and add more energy and flow. On the sides, you can tell there's like sounds playing that still have their low frequencies there. So make sure you cut out all the lows on anything playing on the sides. And then the main bass lead, the dun-dun-dun-dun, that could be layered more so it can sound full and cut through the mix more. In these sections, the piano in the background is almost commanding more of the mix, almost louder than the main lead. I love the piano, by the way. It sounds very good. Adds a lot of dark emotion in here. Cool. And then lastly, there's a lack of dynamic shifts in here. So you could add a lot of flow and movement if there was like a dynamic shift on all the on the claps. Sure. This is a cool section, by the way. Sounding kind of muddy. A lot of lows and mids are starting to build up and it's sounding kind of congested in the low frequency spectrum. So make sure you're using EQ to cut a lot. You would be cutting the majority of the sounds and only leaving maybe one or a couple to control that part of the frequency spectrum. So like this clap, for example. This clap can easily not have everything. And we go like a dynamic shift almost. So like, let's kill it as much as possible. All right, so like it's loud, and then we have like these quiet sections as soon as the snare hits, and you know we're dancing to the snare, so those are the perfect times to cut it out. Maybe like a little tiny reverb tail is in the end, just making it transition perfectly. But doing dynamic shifts like that on the snare towards the end of your phrases will do a lot to start adding these cool, huge, bouncy movements to the drop. Cool. That looks like about it. Good job. Felt good. Once again, feeling all psychedelic, feeling crazy. Those are some WIP vibes in the trees vibes. Lost in the trees. Next is Heaven Sent with Bloodshed Final for real. Ah, but is it the final for real if it's not on the Spotify? Final. You're tuned in to 97 Point Drip, the drippiest station. Up next, we have a competitor named Heaven Sent. What shall be brought to the table? me potion. You will die.
Watch the haters make a scene,
Da-da-dum-da-da-dum-dum. Hold up. Nice. I think the link in the chat just disappeared or something. I don't know what the heck Twitch is doing, taking my links away. Yeah, oh, it's right there. Okay, cool. Here it is again. If you want to join the Discord, let me know, let me know, and let me know. All right, very cool. That is Heaven Sent coming in with the bloodshed. This is actually pretty sick. The clap, though, is way louder than the basses, so unfortunately, I'm not able to turn it up to a volume where I can dance to the maximum energy because the clap is like really disrupting the mix. Make sure you turn that down. Focus on EQ. Make sure it's not clipping. Also, the overall sound design in the basses is very minimal here. They sound very almost generic or basic. So something like that sounds like dry. It doesn't have a lot of effects on it. It sounds like it's not layered enough. It sounds like you just loaded up a serum, chose a preset, and just left it as is. And really, you need to make sure that this sounds thick, impactful, and has enough beef in it so that it can feel like something fresh, new. Right now, we don't want to just hear random basses because, I mean, like back in 2010, 2012, 11, 13, when Skrillex was able to make these sounds for the first time and people heard them for the first time, it was completely different. But it's been a decade since then, and we have heard these sounds a lot. So you got to make sure you're sound designing, layering into a way that makes it impactful. Also, there's some sections where you like have some lasers going on. It's real sick. Whenever we hear this, we really want these lasers to keep on going, man. This is sick. Check this. That laser right there. This should almost start to be like the main star of the show after this. So we're like, listen to this, right? Hiatus. Oh. So like the way you transitioned it, it almost sounds like you're going to make that laser the next like star of the show. The spotlight's about to go on the laser, but then you switch it back and play the same basses that were being played beforehand, which is predictable. You know, if you would have surprised us with that laser bass, it would have added a lot more energy, a lot more impact. Maybe go back and forth between the laser bass and your regular bass. But do something to start adding more variation, and you want to add different changes as time progresses. Will help a lot with the energy. And then the most important parts, the things that you should not be messing up on are timing in your basses. So let's check out these sections. There's 2 different sections that I marked, but there was about 4 total sections where the timing was off. You can't have the timing be off at all. That'll disrupt and actually kill the groove completely. So we have to be very careful. Right there. So like as we're dancing to this doesn't flow to the quarter note flow, the metronome. So be very careful. Little sections like this can disrupt the flow and the groove, and it can really offset the phrase. It also happens again over here. Like right there. So just sections like that, make sure they're perfect on time. Things can be off beat a little bit, you know. I'm sorry, not off beat. They can be shifted in time a little bit by milliseconds right here. But if they're completely off beat, that's going to be an issue if they're shifted too much. So just pay attention to how everything's flowing and going, and use your metronome to help you. That is the key. Metronome is the key. Good job, Heavincent. Good job. Up next, we shall get into Original Society's song called Nowhere to Run. It's a remix. He's not running anywhere, because there's nowhere to run. Just bought a flapjack. I just said, yo, that's not whack. I like going to Jack in the Box. Look at me, I bought some new socks, and they're looking a little yellow. Matter of fact, I just popped up a mellow yellow. Matter of fact, I'm going back, I say hello. Eating on my jello. Julio McJulio. That is Nowhere to Run, Original Society. Cool. So some of these sections have very abrupt transitions. For example, when we transition from this to the build-up right here, so we're like progressing in chords and you just start repeating it. It's a very abrupt transition. It almost feels like two separate sections. So I want to make sure that these flow into one another. Same thing with the build up to the drop. It almost sounds like the drop just comes out of nowhere. If you were to like maybe tease some of these basses in the build-up, like filter them out, tease them. It kind of sounds like they're in the background about to come, and then at the drop, you release the beast. That would help a lot with the overall transition from build-up to the drop. Remember, you have the violin here. So if you're going to add some melodic harmonic content in here, you got to keep that moving in the drop too to add cohesion. The background atmospheres are playing through your dynamic shifts. So if we're trying to like go from loud to silent, but the atmosphere is not changing, then we're not actually able to feel the difference here. So make sure the atmosphere is adjusted so that it becomes quieter or non-existent in these sections. So you don't hear it here, but once we start going into these later ones, those are the ones I'm talking about. Now this is 8 bars. After the 8 bars, we basically have to make something start to change after the 8 bars, but you keep the same flow going. You just add the atmosphere basically, which really isn't enough to keep the energy progressing. You would want to try to change it to like the faster rhythm that you did over here. So like stretching up to the faster rhythm after the 8 bars will help a lot too. And lastly, overall layering in the main bass. So if you listen to the main bass, it's like a high frequency bass, and then we have the sub. So we're missing the mid frequencies. We're missing a strong mid bass to control. So make sure you layer lows, mids, highs so that there's not an empty space in the frequency spectrum. You want to make sure it's thick, full, and high energy. Fun times. Good job. Nowhere to Run by Original Society. We have Dream with Transylvania update. Oh no, sorry. Up next we have Smiley Flow by Smileys. Smiley's probably going to come in hot. This is version 2 full drop. Let's get it done.
If you can't do 10K first, I don't wanna hear no chat about talk.
All right. There we go with the smiley flow. That's a smiley flow. All right, cool. Very nice idea. Very good energy that's being built. Like, I mean, once we get into this fake out, we have a lot of energy being built up. You can tell something crazy is about to happen.
If you can't do 10K first,
The timing of that vocal definitely feels off and needs to be examined. It was kind of hard to tell at first, but once I heard this vocal that's actually in proper timing, then I could easily tell the first one was a little bit off.
I don't want to hear no chat about trot.
That one feels on time, but this one feels like it almost gets rushed in.
If you can't do 10K,
So just double check, make sure everything's perfect timing wise there. The drop is sick, but we have a huge problem here because the actual white noise is creating a lot of mud in the mix. The white noise almost sounds like it's competing with the flow that's happening. So for example, see these dynamic shifts from when the bass is going from like loud to quieter. That's the ADSR, the attack, decay, sustain, release, the overall shape of the sound. Your white noise should have the same shape as your main basses. If it sounds sustained or if it sounds full volume, it's going to mess up the dynamics of your main leads, which is important. We want the white noise to flow exactly like those basses, and we don't want the frequencies in the white noise to compete with the frequencies that are playing either. It sounds like there's like low mid frequencies of the white noise that's shining through more than it should be. Towards the end over here, it starts to almost sound like static. Like the white noise playing during this section really shouldn't be happening. These dynamic shifts are what make your song have a lot of movement and a lot of dance. So if you disrupt those dynamic shifts with the white noise, that is a big problem. Check those out. Make sure that's fixed. Vocals in the intro need to be turned up. They're pretty low volume and it sounds very odd. So make sure you turn those up. Those should be just as loud as the synths almost. And then lastly, when we slow the BPM down here at the end, we slow down to 130 beats per minute from 140 or 145. I'm not too sure. But when we're at 130, playing dubstep, we are... Okay, so first off, 130 is super close to 128 beats per minute, which is the speed of house music. So right away, you're playing music that's at the same speed of house, but house music is 4 to the floor. There's a kick on every beat. We're dancing, high energy. With dubstep, it's half time. So we are dancing to half of 130 beats per minute, which is 65 BPM in this. Like this. It's very hard to dance to 130, which is like this. Like you're not getting this type of energy, 130 beats per minute during this. You're getting 65 beats per minute chill, which is just very, very slow. I wouldn't recommend really getting this slow unless you're able to make it feel like 100 beats per minute. You have to do different dynamic shifts, start using different silence. You can make it more psychedelic. You can keep it at the 65 BPM flow, but you have to like switch up the sound design and flow of your mid basses if you wanted to do that. So different routes you can go. I think that's about it. Yeah. Otherwise, good track. Once again, very original. Lots of different, you're veering away from the main quarter note, adding different tonalities and stuff. So just keep it up. Keep that energy pumping. Good job, Smileys. Smiley flow. What you know. Lastly, we have Dream with the Transylvania update. Let us get it done. rolling on the block. Hit up with that euro and get more of what you know about that. Roll up. Cool. We're starting to catch a flow at the end there, you know, like cool. Nice. Honestly, we have a pretty good flow going on here. Unfortunately, the main basses don't sound like they're popping through the mix enough. We need some parallel processing to really make them cut through the mix, make them shine. Have a dry signal and a wet signal combined. Sub has power. We need the mid bass to then beef up and get as powerful as the sub. Like that effects sound is actually louder than our main bass. If that's an issue, make sure you check on that. The pitch rise in the buildup feels very unnatural. You want to make sure that when you're doing buildups, things are going in like double time, triple time, going crazy, things are rising in pitch. That should be happening separately from the actual intro. So like we're going from intro, but then you just start rising a sound in pitch. There's just not enough to add tension and energy. You want to create a proper build instead. And you can repeat maybe a section of that melody and rather than just having it play the same thing as before, to try to have it transition too. That might help. Now the hats, the tops, feel very small. They're closed hats too, so it just feels like it could benefit more with some rides, like tss, 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 with like a tail, nice and clean, a little bit in the background. These closed hats are not adding. Usually closed hats are supposed to add bounce, you know, but it's not really adding bounce. They feel a little bit hidden in the mix, so you could definitely adjust those two to add more movement and make the drop sound fuller too. This section is nice. It sounds cool with this extra bass. I think this section sounds a lot more full than these. You can tell there's like frequencies almost missing here compared to the highs, you know, those high frequencies. Remember, layer lows, mids, highs for all those main sections of your song. And you'll be good to go. Alright guys, thank you guys for submitting. I really appreciate it. Twitch is now in session. I'm affiliate officially. You guys can subscribe to my Twitch. It means a lot. I'm uploading videos. I'm on YouTube doing tutorials. And you can hit me up if you need any private lessons, 1v1s I'm doing every day. So just let me know and I'll help you, okay? Peace out. Stay fresh. Keep it real. I'll see you on the next one. Later. Later.